How are you all today? Good. I see we're decorated for Halloween. So yeah, you know what day Halloween is, right? Yeah, 31st. So yeah, Halloween. Well, Halloween is what one Shunjie. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I know that it's not really a holiday, but it's a special day, fun day usually for adults and children, I guess. And what do children like to do on Halloween? Yeah, so we call that trick or treat. Okay, and what does that mean? Yeah, so basically, children go around to different homes, and they usually have a bag or some container, and they go trick or treating, which means they go to different houses, and usually, I mean, this is in America, people will prepare candy or something to eat, and they'll put it in the bags. But the original idea, of course, is if you don't give me a treat. What is a treat? Does everybody know? Treat is something well, it could be, but it could be something that you enjoy. Like, for example, a treat is like something special that you enjoy. And often when we say treats, they are often associated with or connected to food. Okay, so for example, you can say having that steak, that niu pie was a real treat for me. It was a real special meal for me. But treat can also be a 动词, right? For example, if you can say, of course, we use it in different ways. For example, you can say, I treated her to a good dinner. It means I gave her a good dinner. Or kind of like to give her something, to treat her to something. It means to do something special for somebody, right? So if you treat your parents to a nice dinner, it means you take your parents out for a nice dinner. You give it to them. It's a gift, okay? But, sometimes we even say to treat yourself to something, right? Like maybe it's been a hard week and you're very tired and you say, I'm going to treat myself to a foot massage. I'm going to go and get my the anmo, my jiao or whatever they call that. Foot massage. I'm going to treat myself to a foot massage. Okay, so that's a 动词. Now, of course, treat can also be another meaning for the word treat is how we act towards somebody. How do we behave towards somebody? For example, you always say we should treat others with kindness, right? We should treat other people with kindness. We should TR what? Treat, yeah, TREAT, yeah, treat. So we should treat others with kindness. We should treat everybody with respect. It means how do we act towards them? What kind of feeling do we extend to them? So that's another meaning for treat. Okay, so treat has different ideas, but of course, the word treat here, of course, means that you give me something good. Okay, give me a treat, or I will trick you. Okay. Now, most kids don't do that, but I know I've heard stories where if a house did not give candy to the children, they would play a trick on the house. They would do something against that house. I don't know. Maybe they would. I don't know. Who knows? But anyhow, that's just the idea. But this idea of trick or treat is very popular. I've even seen in Taiwan in the recent years. I've seen some communities. Some like maybe a private community like a 社区, they will organize a trick or treat event for children. Now, I doubt if on 10月31号, if you walked around Taichung and went trick or treating, I'm sure most people would be like, huh? What's going on? I don't know. What am I supposed to give you? Or why should I give you something free? But in America, it's very common. I won't say that everybody does it right now. I mean, I think unfortunately, over the last 30 years or so, some people don't feel it's safe for just children to go out and collect candy from strangers. but maybe they will organize something in their community where everybody knows everybody else. So anyhow, why don't we say this together? Halloween. Halloween. Trick or treat. Trick or treat. Right. And what are some other traditions with Halloween? What are things that adults or children do in Halloween? Okay, well, that's kind of like this, right? Yeah, so that's a kind of, I think I'm spelling this right. I think that's an A. Lantern is what? What's a lantern? Yeah, in Taiwan, every year we have our Deng Hui, right? So why don't we say together, lantern? Lantern. Jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lantern. To be honest, I don't know what the story is. I remember reading about this story, but I forget now what the story is behind Jack-o'-lantern. But basically, what is this originally? What is this? A pumpkin, right? A pumpkin is what is that? Nangua, right? Okay. So a pumpkin, Pumpkin, pumpkin. Why don't we say that together? Pumpkin. Pumpkin. So in America, I know in Taiwan, sometimes the pumpkins are a little bit smaller, but in America, sometimes you get really huge pumpkins. And so what they do is they cut off the top and they scoop out all the stuff inside the pumpkin, and then they carve it, ke, and they'll usually they might carve a face like this in the pumpkin. And then what do? They put a laju, a candle inside the pumpkin, and they light it. And so at night you can see the face glowing, in the darkness. It's kind of cool. Sometimes it depends on the face you use. Sometimes it can look a little bit scary, right? You can make it look funny or scary or whatever. But I should look this up. There is some tradition to this, or some story behind it, and I'm actually not sure what that story is. But you can go home and you can look it up. Just Google Halloween traditions or jack-o'-lantern and see what they say about this. But anyhow, it's a very popular thing. In American houses, you'll see sometimes at night, you'll see these jack-o'-lanterns in front of the house. And sometimes they're real pumpkins, and sometimes they're just like this, just a lantern that they make. What are some other traditions with Halloween? Not cosmetics. It's what? What do we call it? It's close. Similar word, but what do we say? Costume. Not cosplay either. I know in Taiwan, cosplay is very popular, but costume, okay? Costume. What is a costume? It's something you wear so that you look differently. Now, what? Yeah, it could be. Usually it's unusual. I mean, like cosplay or I don't know what else there. Sometimes. So if you dress in a costume, usually it means you're trying to imitate or you're trying to look like someone else or something else. Okay. So at Halloween, people will dress up like ghosts and monsters and movie characters and maybe something from a movie. They'll dress up to look like that. But costume can. That's for Halloween, of course. But often we can use the word costume for other things. Like sometimes there's other events where we might wear a costume. We might dress up to look like someone else. And so there is a kind of like Halloween, not Halloween, but other parties where we simply say a costume party, where everyone's trying to dress up and look like somebody else. We might say, okay, we're going to have I don't know. Well, I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm organizing for Taichung Meiguo Shanghui. I'm organizing our annual. Every year we do a 募款晚会 to help children in Taichung. And every year we have a 主题, theme, right? A main theme. This year our theme is Casino Royale. Okay, I don't know if you know this, but it's a Ling Ling Qi James Bond movie, right? Called Casino Royale. And so that night, obviously, you don't have to dress up. You don't have to wear a costume. But I'm sure some guests will probably try to dress up like James Bond, or maybe we say Bond girl or something like that. but people will wear a costume. They will try to look like somebody. Last year, our theme was Barbie. So of course we had many women wearing pink or, dressing up like Barbie. So anyhow, this would also be a kind of costume party. So why don't we say that word together? Costume. Costume. Okay. So anyhow, Halloween is a fun time for most people. I know that many of us don't celebrate Halloween, but I know there are many Halloween parties for adults and for children, and it's a good time. People always have fun. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Really? Why? Yeah, that seems a little bit extreme to me. Now, of course, if you looked really terrible, right? Like if you had blood all over you, or you looked really 很恐怖, very scary. Okay, I could understand that. But if you're, I don't know, some costumes are not too scary, right? They're not too bad. There is one kind of, I saw it in, I think it was Japan. I saw the other day, they had a special train. I think it was, I don't know if it was in a city or it was a inner city train, but they had a whole train car where they called it people dressed up like zombies. You know what a zombie is? Okay. How do you say this in Chinese? Yeah, it's like we often say the living dead. Okay. It's like they're dead, but they're living, right? So anyhow, why don't we say together zombies? Zombies. Of course, that's plural. So zombie would be one person. But yeah, they had a whole train car where everybody, this is in Japan, where everyone dressed up like zombies. And so they had normal passengers there, but then they had all these zombies on the train. And it was kind of funny, of course. People thought it was funny. But yeah, I could see if someone was dressed like a zombie and they got on the Taipei Jieyun, maybe people would get very scared and be like, well, what's going on? Who is this person? So yeah, maybe there's a reason for that. But yeah. Undead is living dead. It's a zombie, yeah. So undead, dead, D-E-A-D, and then we just add U-N at the front, undead. So it's like they're dead, but now they're alive again, or we say living dead. Okay, so yeah, it's, obviously there's a lot of movies about zombies. But yeah, it's a common Halloween costume for people to wear. Yeah, so anyhow, it's fun. Maybe some of you can dress up and walk around Taichung. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's fun. So anyhow, any other questions about Halloween? Yes. That's the original day behind Halloween. I don't actually know. I thought it was the same day, but maybe it's the day after. Yeah, there was another holiday long time ago, like hundreds of years ago, called All Saints Day. And somehow this is connected to that. I should go home and do my 功课. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, 万圣节 is All Saints Day. Okay. 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 Yeah. So anyhow, I know that this weekend there are some Halloween parties around Taichung. So yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Halloween's not an American holiday. I mean, it started in England, I think, or in Britain, Great Britain somewhere. So it didn't, I mean, of course, it probably started as All Saints Day, but over the last 100 years or so, it's kind of evolved or changed into Halloween. But yeah, I know it's celebrated very heavily in all over North America, and I know, well, all over the world now, actually. But I know in the UK, people like it too. It's very popular. So yeah. Okay, good. So anyhow, I still remember when I was a little kid in Hualien, the local community, the foreign community, not the Taiwanese community, but the foreign community organized a trick-or-treat event for the children. And I remember it was great. It was a lot of fun because, you come home and you have all this bag of candy, right? So what do? You tip it over and then you go through all your candy and see what you got and which ones you like and maybe which ones you don't like. You know, the ones you don't like, you give to your sister or your brother, you know. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so anyhow, let's go on to look in the newspaper articles today. This was on the front page, and I've been following this story, and it kind of made me upset because I thought this is very unfair to Taiwan, and obviously it's, you know, typical, but it says U.S. lawmakers condemn South Africa's demand. Okay, so when you demand something, what are you doing? You are forcing somebody. You're saying you must do that. You know, we often have demand. Of course, can be a 名词 or a 动词, right? You can demand something, or you can make a demand, right? You can make a demand that they do something here. Now here, of course, it's a 名词. It's their demand. So they are making a demand. Okay, so let's go on and see what this demand is. Okay, I'm sure you've probably heard about this. It says U.S. senators and representatives this week criticized the South African government for bowing to China's will and urged it to renounce its misguided action to order an unnegotiable relocation of Taiwan's representative office from Pretoria to Johannesburg. Now, I think you probably know Pretoria is the official capital, 首都 of Nanfei, right? South Africa. Johannesburg is their biggest city. It's a big city, but it's not the capital. Just like in America, New York is the biggest city, but it's not the capital. So here we have U.S. senators. These are from 美国大会, the senators and representatives. They criticize the government for bowing. Okay, what does to bow mean? Yeah. So, you know, if you go to Japan, for example, people bow all the time. It's a very common part of their everyday behavior. People will bow to each other, and sometimes they bow deeply, sometimes they don't bow as deeply, but it has a lot of meaning to it. But he just used a word that's very interesting, and I was thinking of the same word. It's a common word, and it actually comes from China. Kowtow. I don't know what's the Chinese word for 磕头. Okay, so this is a word that is come from the Chinese. You know, English is very interesting because English takes a lot of words from other languages and they become English words. Like, of course, we've talked about this, many English words used to be French words or Spanish words or German words. But here in this case, this is a unique one in that it comes from Chinese and it's come over into English. So kowtow, as you said, 磕头 is something goes way back, you know, to the Chinese Empire, you know, the Huangdi and all that, and people would, you know, get down and bow to the emperor, and so now when we use this word in English, it means to do the same thing, to just really get down low and bow to the emperor and say, okay, I'm sorry, and so often this word is used in a very negative, 否定的 way. You say you should not kowtow to him, or he is kowtowing to his boss. It has an idea that you are just going too far, right? You're just really, you know, crawling before them and showing how bad you are, how small you are before somebody else. So why don't we say together, kowtow? Kowtow. So we could actually take that word and put it here because it's the same idea that, oh, you know, whatever China says, we will just follow it. But here we have a more basic word. This word is neutral. It's fine. You know, of course, in Japan, people bow every day. So why don't we say together, bow? Bow. Okay. Now, I just want to point a small point out here. I think you know this. This word B-O-W, bow, can also has a completely different meaning, and it's pronounced in a different way. It's called bow. Okay. And what is a bow? I sure when you've played with a bow and arrow, right? A bow is, you know, when you shoot an arrow, this thing is called the bow, and then you put the arrow into the bow and you shoot it, right? So that's called a bow. Now there's another bow I was thinking of is a bow tie, right? Some people like to wear this tie. It's not the normal tie, right? But it's how do you call that tie in Chinese? Yeah, that's called a bow tie, okay? Because it has a different shape to it. I guess it's kind of shaped like a bow. I don't know. But yeah, so that word bow is also B-O-W, but it's pronounced differently. And of course, it has a very different meaning. Okay, but here we're looking at bow, to bow, okay? So bow, of course, can be, again, it could be a 名词 or a 动词. You can say he gave a deep bow. Okay, so that would be a noun. This is in this occasion, but usually it's a verb, to bow to somebody. Okay, so anyhow, they're saying here, of course, they're criticizing the South African government for bowing to China's will. Now, of course, they're not physically, literally bowing. They're actually, it means they're just giving in. They're accepting. They're going according to, it's kind of like that word, kowtowing, to China's will, what China wants. You say, my will is what I want. Okay, what is your will in this matter? What do you want? Okay, so China's will, and urged it, these American representatives urged South Africa to renounce its misguided action. Now, action we know, but what does misguided mean? Yeah, misled. If you're guided along something, you're guided to do something, but if you're misguided, it means you're taken down the wrong way. You're going the wrong way. Let's say you go out on the road and you want to go to the train station, the 火车站, and you ask somebody to guide you, but they take you the other direction. Maybe they take you to the 高铁站 instead. But you say, well, he misguided me. Okay, he took me in the wrong way. So here when we say this as a 形容词, a misguided action, it means that this action is going in the wrong way. It's not the correct answer. I guess we could say the incorrect action. It's the wrong action. Okay, it's misguided. But I think often when we say misguided, it's the idea that you don't have the right thinking. You're not thinking the way you should be about something. So often it's not just action. We could say his misguided ideas, right? His, maybe, he thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's actually not doing the right thing. Yeah, he's misled, or yeah, he's gone the wrong way. He's thinking the wrong way, so he's misguided. So we could say this person is very misguided in the way they think. Okay, so why don't we say together, misguided? Misguided. And we've talked about this word before. To renounce is to what? What's a simple way of saying to renounce? To more like to give up. Okay, if you renounce something, it means I'm not going to support that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. So we can renounce an idea. Let's say before you had an idea, now you give it up. Or religion, they say, well, before I was this religion, but I'm going to give it up. I'm not going to follow that. Or you could renounce some sort of behavior. I used to, maybe someone says, well, I used to drink alcohol every day, but I'm going to renounce that. I'm going to give it up. Okay, so it's like to give up. Okay, so to renounce. Why don't we say it again? Renounce. Renounce. So they urged it. They're saying you should renounce or give up this misguided action. And what was the action? The action was what? The action by the South African government was to order an unnegotiable relocation of Taiwan's representative office. So Taiwan has a representative office in South Africa, like they do in probably most countries. But South Africa says they want them to relocate. Okay. Now, relocate, what's a simple word for relocate? Move. Yeah, to move, right? So sometimes you have a restaurant and they relocate to a new place, okay? So relocation of Taiwan's representative, but here they say it's unnegotiable. Okay, now we know the word negotiate, right? T-I-A-T-E, right? To negotiate means let's talk about it, right? Let's see what you have to say and what I have to say, and maybe we can reach an agreement. But if something is unnegotiable, it means I'm not going to talk to you about it. You can't change my mind. That's it. Final. That's my final decision. So, like when you were a child, or maybe if you're a parent and you're having a discussion with your child and you say, I want you to do that. And they say, well, no, how about if I do this, you do this, or you won't make me do this. And you say, no, this is unnegotiable. I'm not going to negotiate with you. You must do it. Okay. So that's what South Africa is saying. So why don't we say again, let's just say the root word here, this with the T-I-A-T-E, negotiate. Let me just write it. It'd be a little bit easier to read it. Now remember the T has a sh sound to it. Okay, it's not with a T sound. So, okay, so why don't we say together, negotiate. This T here is a sh sound. Okay, so negotiate. Negotiate. Okay, and then this word, unnegotiable. Unnegotiable. Okay. Now, I have seen another version of this word. Instead of they sometimes say non, N-O-N, non-negotiable. Okay. Same idea. Not going to negotiate with you. I'm not going to talk to you about it. My word is, that's the final word, final decision. Okay. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's read this together. U.S. senators and representatives. Let's say it again. Senators and representatives this week criticized the South African government for bowing to China's will and urged it to renounce its misguided action to order an unnegotiable relocation of Taiwan's representative office. Let's say this again. Representative office. From Pretoria to Johannesburg. Okay. Yeah. You know, Johann is a name of a person, usually a man. It's like John, right? But then they turn this into a city name. Berg, of course, usually means a town, right? If you go to America or Germany or even England, you'll often see this word at the end of a city or town name. There's in my father, you know, his hometown areas, his home state is Bingzhou, and there's many towns that end with this word Berg. Sometimes it's spelled B-E-R-G. Sometimes it's spelled B-U-R-G. Yeah. So I think it just means town or yeah, village or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, very common. Okay. I guess, you know, a long time ago, it was very easy. If you wanted to start your own town, you just take your name and add Berg to it, right? So it could be like Douglasburg. Yeah. You know, or anybody if you want. Yeah. Never heard of a Douglasburg, but yeah. But anyhow. Okay. So let's go on here. It says, I call on South Africa and South African Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola, to reverse this misguided action, reevaluate their relationship with the CCP, and return to a true stance of non-alignment. U.S. House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCall wrote on X. Okay, X used to be Twitter. Okay, so there's some words here. He says, okay, so this is what he's saying. He's calling on the South Africa and of course the Minister of International Relations. It's kind of like the 外交部部长, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola, to reverse. Now, what does reverse mean? To go in the other direction, right? Now, if you have a car, of course, and you change the gear to R means reverse. It means your car goes backwards, right? So here he says to reverse, it means to undo, to go back in another direction, this misguided action. So you can reverse an action, right? If you start to do something and then you decide, this is not good, this is a bad idea, I'm going to reverse this action. It means I'm going to go in the opposite direction, okay? So, but here, he uses the word misguided, like we talked about, this misguided action. He's saying this action is wrong. You need to stop it and go back, okay? Reevaluate their relationship with the CCP. This is the Gongchangdang, okay? So reevaluate, of course, we know the word evaluate means to study, to consider, right? So if you reevaluate, it means to rethink, to reconsider. Okay, there's different ways we say this. Rethink, reconsider, reevaluate. It means to think about it again, maybe to reconsider something. So if you make a decision and then you reevaluate that decision, means I go back and think about it. I think, is this really what I should do, or maybe not? Okay, so let's say this together. Evaluate. Evaluate. Reevaluate. Reevaluate. Okay, so reevaluate their relationship with the CCP, okay, and what? And return to go back to a true stance of non-alignment. Now, this is a very interesting word. To align with something means that you follow it, right? Now, I'll give you a little bit technical example of alignment, though. But I don't know how many of you have cars, but if you drive a car, all 4 tires need to be in alignment. It means they need to be adjusted so that they're running together in the same direction. If they're not in alignment, your car will vibrate, or it won't move smoothly, or your tires will have problems because the wheels are not exactly aligned with each other. They're not exactly going in the same direction. You know, if one tire is going this way a little bit and one tire is going that way a little bit, your car is not going to go smoothly. But so sometimes you have to go to a mechanic, a car repair shop, and he will adjust your tires so that they're all aligned with each other. So it means that they're in the right direction, the same direction as with each other. So what else do we align? We can align our ideas with other people, right? If you often, people will align their ideas with their friends or their parents. They'll follow the same ideas. So when you say that, obviously countries are aligned with each other, countries that follow the same ideas. Like we could say, well, because this country and that country are democracies, they are aligned with each other. It means they're going in the same direction. They're following the same idea. But here, this idea of non-alignment is an interesting one. It means that your country does not your country does not follow any particular other country. We don't follow the lead of other countries. Back in the 1950s, I believe, there was a whole non-aligned movement among certain countries that said, we're not going to follow the communist countries, and we're not going to follow the other countries behind the United States. We're going to be non-aligned, okay? And some of the countries that we have followed this, we call this non-alignment movement, where countries like India, okay? So India said, well, we're not on the side of the United States, but we're also not on the side of the Soviet Union, Sulian. Indonesia, INI was another country. They said, well, we're not on anybody's side. We're non-aligned, okay? So what he's saying here is that South Africa should not be leaning this way or leaning towards any other country. They should just be non-aligned. Just do your own thing, follow your own way, okay? Because here, they think they're following China, okay? Does everybody understand that idea? Non-aligned? Yes. Yeah, it was in 50s, yeah. And I know India was probably the leader of that, but Indonesia was also very big. They wanted to be, yeah. But obviously, China was following the Soviet Union for a while, and then they separated, and yeah. So anyhow, why don't we say this together? To as a 动词, to A-L-I-N, say A-L-I-G-N, align. Align. And this is a good word. You say, I align myself with his ideas, or we should align, this country's aligned with that country. And then as a 名词, alignment. Alignment. And then here, this is this idea, this 主义, non-alignment. Non-alignment. Okay, so they should return to a true stance of non-alignment. Now, this word we've talked about before. A stance is your position, right? Your position. Like if I say the way I stand is my stance, right? Like some people like to stand with their legs further apart. Some people stand with their legs like this. So it's your position of your body, your stance. But it can also be the position of your ideas, So just like the word position, we can use that. We can say, what is your position on nuclear energy? Okay. How do you feel about that? Or we could say, what is your stance on nuclear energy? I know in Taiwan people are debating this right now. But yeah, so anyhow, this is the same idea. So why don't we say that word again? Stance. Stance. Right. Okay. So they're saying that South Africa should be non-aligned. They should not just follow China. Okay. And this is coming from the U.S. House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee. This is like their 外交委员会 chairman or 主委 Michael McCall. I know he's a real friend of Taiwan. He's been to Taiwan many times. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right, but I think the point is that China should not tell South Africa what to do. And I think South Africa in the past has been more non-aligned. They haven't really stayed on one side or the other. They've kind of tried to go their own direction. But here he's saying, don't let China tell you what to do. You know, Taiwan and South Africa, you know, have had a pretty good relationship over the last, you know, many years. Of course, they used to be diplomatic. They used to have a diplomatic relationship, but Taiwan still has a pretty good relationship with South Africa. I mean, Taiwan invests a lot there. And so they're saying, don't let China tell you what to do, right? Do your own thing. You know, don't align yourself with China. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and read this then. I call on South Africa. Okay, and then let's just go here. And Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola, to reverse this misguided action. Again, misguided action. Reevaluate their relationship with the CCP and return to a true stance of non-alignment. U.S. House of Representatives, Foreign Affairs Committee, Chairman Michael McCall, wrote on X. Okay, so let's go on. It says here, McCall also said that Pretoria's move is a clear result of CCP coercion and brazen interference into affairs of other nations. Okay, so there's two words here I want to focus on. He's saying that Pretoria, of course, Pretoria means the South African government. Their move is a clear result. It's 很清楚, right? It's very clear. It comes from what? CCP coercion. Now, what's this word? This comes from the word to coerce. C-O-E-R-C-E is a 动词, coerce. Okay? So for the C-E, coerce. What does to coerce mean? To force. Yeah. But usually, often it means the idea you use pressure to make somebody do something that you want them to do. Okay? So how do we, sometimes people are coerced in doing something. It means that, I'll give you a word that often I think of when I think of coercion. Often we talk about blackmail. That's M-A-I-L, blackmail. What is blackmail? Kind of. Yeah, I guess trick-or-treating is like blackmail, although it shouldn't be. But yeah, blackmail is when you say, if you don't do this, I will do this to you, right? Okay? So people will blackmail other people. They'll say, if you don't, give me what I want, I'm going to do something bad to you, okay? And maybe they have something that the other person doesn't want to happen, and so, I've read how online, a lot of teenagers today, they put photographs of themselves online, or they send it to somebody, and then somebody uses those photographs to blackmail them. They say, okay, you need to give me money, or I'm going to send those photos to everybody, right? So that's a kind of blackmail. So that's coercion is really, when I think of coerce, it means that you force somebody but often you have something that you threaten them with. You say, you will do this, or I will do something to you if you don't do it. Okay, so why don't we say the 动词 to coerce, to coerce. And then this word becomes a 名词. So this becomes a C becomes more of a zh sound, coercion. Okay, so it's a zh. Okay, so why don't we say together, coercion, coercion. Okay, so it's the result of CCP, coercion, and now we have another word. But before we look at this word, let's first review this word. What is to, you know what to interfere is, right? Or interference. It means you get involved in something that you probably should not be involved in. It's not your business, but you interfere, you get involved with it. Okay, but this word brazen, we haven't talked about this before. What does brazen mean? Sorry, what? Not so much. It's a slightly different idea. You said the word shameless. Not quite, but let me, when something is brazen, I think of the word, it's like the word bold, but it's bold in a very shameless way. If you have no shame, like you do something and it's like, it's brazen is often, I wouldn't say it's always a negative word, but often it means that it's very open. You do it in a very bold way and you don't really care what anybody else thinks. You're just going to go do it. So, his brazen action means that it's kind of like you're very proud or arrogant. It's a little bit like the way you're either shameless. You know what shame is, right? So shameless or sometimes arrogant. What's arrogant? What is it? 骄傲, right? Or I think arrogant. You're very proud. You do something, you just say, I don't care what you think. I'm just going to go do it. Okay? So sometimes we say he acts or she acted in a very brazen way. It means she was very bold, and she didn't really care what anybody thought of her. But I don't want you to think that brazen is always negative. It's not always negative. It just means someone who it's the way they do it. It's just very very, very bold. So I guess brazen is similar to the word bold. Yes? It's neutral. It doesn't really, thick skin means that you can take criticism, right? You don't really care what other people say to you. So, it could be positive, right? If you say his friends, right now he's receiving lots of criticism, 批评, 被批评, but he's very thick-skinned, so it doesn't matter. He's just going to keep doing it. So you know what thick skin means, right? Someone with a thick skin, P, right? It means that they don't care what other people say to them. It doesn't affect them. So we say he is very thick-skinned. So yeah, it doesn't mean it's good or bad. Obviously. Now, of course, if somebody they need to listen to you, and they're not listening to you, maybe it's not good. Yeah. So anyhow, let's say this word together: brazen. Brazen. Okay. Now, a person can be brazen or take a brazen action, and a country can act in a brazen way. Okay. So here we say a brazen interference into the affairs of other nations. So it means that China is just walking around and telling other countries what to do, and they really don't care. They're being very open about it, very bold about it. And, who cares, So anyhow, any questions about this, these words? Or everybody understand that? Okay. Well, when you are coerced or you're under coercion, often you're under duress. Under duress means you're under stress. You're under pressure, strong pressure. Duress is a word that we don't use every day, but it means when you're under extreme pressure to do something. So let's say the police catch somebody and they say, did you commit that crime? And the person says no, but then the police keep pressuring them and putting them under lots of pressure. They might maybe the police even torture them, right? They put them in a very stressful situation. And then finally the person says, okay, yeah, I did that. that was me. I did that. You could say that they confessed under duress. They said something because they were under lots of pressure, extreme pressure. So it's the idea of under duress. So yeah, I mean, you could be, duress could be used to coerce somebody. It could be a form of coercion if you put someone under duress. So, but yeah, this word under duress is sometimes used for this idea. Any other questions? Okay, let's read this then. McCall also said that Pretoria's move is a clear result of CCP coercion. Coercion. And brazen interference. Let's say it again. Brazen interference into affairs of other nations. Right. So yeah. Okay, that's a photo caption. And then it says here, U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn, this is a woman, on Monday wrote on X that the United States should not tolerate South Africa's collaboration with Communist China, urging U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden to make it clear there will be, let me pull that up, consequences if Pretoria works with the CCP to bully Taiwan. You know what the word bully means, right? This is a word we talk about a lot in school with students and children, right? Bully. Let's say it together, bully. Bully. Now this can be a 名词 or a 动词. If you say he is a bully, okay? Or you can say he was bullied. So if he's a bully, then he's the one doing it. But if he is being bullied, then he's being attacked. He's not attacking. So the word can be used in either way. It's a you can be a bully, or you can bully somebody, or you can be bullied. I was bullied by him. Okay, so it's that word can be used that way. So let's go up above here. It says, the United States should not tolerate South Africa's collaboration with Communist China. Now, first of all, let's look at this word. What's another word for collaboration? Yeah, very similar. Cooperation, right? If you collaborate or you cooperate with somebody, I'll give you a clue here. Co means what? C-O means what? Together, right? And what's this word you see here? What's this? Labor, right? L-A-B-O-R means to work, right? So if you co-labor, it means you work together, okay? So it becomes collaboration, means to work together, to cooperate. Okay, so let's say it together, collaboration. Collaboration. Okay, so the U.S. should not tolerate, and what would be here when we say to tolerate something means to do what? Put up with, to, what else? To stand for, or simply to accept, right? I will not tolerate your behavior. I will not tolerate this, okay? Means I do not accept this, okay? So, often when people get really upset and they say, I cannot accept this, I cannot tolerate. If you want to turn that into a 形容词, you can say this is unacceptable, or we could say this is intolerable, okay? That's a very common word. People say, this whole thing, this situation is intolerable. I can't take it. I won't accept it, I know in Taiwan, sometimes people feel like the traffic is intolerable, right? Or the bad drivers, I was watching the news yesterday and I got really upset. Well, it means I don't want to endure. I refuse to endure that. But I was watching the news online yesterday and I saw it. Every time I see this, it gets me very angry. I feel it's intolerable. Maybe you saw it where up in Shinbei, like a mother and a 3-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old baby, she was carrying the baby on front of her, and she was holding the 3-year-old daughter's hand. And this car turns left on red, takes a left turn and hits them, right? Now, fortunately, nobody was killed, but it hit all 3 of them, the mother and the 2 young children. And the driver was 17 years old, okay? 17岁. And I thought, this is intolerable, right? Because I'm sure you heard about that other case in Taipei with the 15-year-old driver, right? He killed 3 people, right? And so I'm sure many people in Taiwan today, that right now, they're saying, this is intolerable, right? We cannot accept this. We need to change this, you know? So it seems in the news recently, there's been a couple of these ideas that have been, people are finding more and more intolerable. One, of course, is, what do we call that? Do you know what we call, like, the 15-year-old and 17-year-old driving a car? What do we have a term for that? What do we call that? We could, but there's a term in America, we call that, we use it in Taiwan too. No, anyone can be reckless. I mean, I could be reckless, but we call that an, this becomes one word, right? Underage means what? You're under the age. Yeah, kind of like a minor, but the word we usually use is underage. It means you're not old enough to be driving, so you are underage. We use this word for other things too, like an underage drinker, right? If you're 15 years old and you go to 7-Eleven and buy a beer and start drinking a beer, then you're an underage drinker, right? You're too young to be drinking. So we say underage driver, underage drinker. So this is one thing I've noticed that is becoming more and more, people are paying attention to it. The other thing I've noticed is fake license plates. I noticed that's become a problem in Taiwan too. Fake license plates, you know, 假的, what is that? 牌照, right? Yeah. And fake, you know, fake is F-A-K-E. And I guess the other one I see more and more is drug use, people using drugs, different kinds of doping, right? Sometimes it's a combination of all 3 of these things. Underage driver, taking drugs, fake license plate. But I will say, I mean, this is my own opinion, of course, but I do think that one of the problems that Taiwan needs to address with this kind of issue is, especially fake license plate. I was kind of shocked by that. Is they really need. I think they need to raise the penalty for this. I said to raise, right? To increase. I guess we could say to increase, right? What does penalty mean? Yeah, your punishment, right? So if I go out and I park my car illegally out on the road, I probably get a 罚单. It says you need to pay, I don't know what, you know, 900块 or 2000块 or whatever, right? That's my penalty. Or if I'm driving too fast and the police stop me, or they take a picture of my car, I have to pay money. That's my penalty. So I think they need to increase or raise the penalty for these things. But the one that really surprised me was the penalty for fake license plates. You know, in America, if you're caught driving with a fake license plate, that's a really serious crime. I mean, you go to jail. They throw you in jail, you know, and they might take your car too, you know. But here I was surprised. They're like, oh, they'll 开罚单. It's like, what, 3000块 or whatever. I'm like, what? You know, that's a serious problem. I mean, if you're a criminal and you have a fake license plate, that means you can do anything you want, right? I can rob a store. I can go super fast on the freeway. I can do anything I want. So I think that one, they really need to stop that one, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Fake license plates. Yeah. Well, and that's good, but then what happens when they catch them? To me, that's the problem. If the judge says, okay, yeah, you pay 3000块for a fake license plate, I'd be like, great, here you go, here's the money. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, you know, it doesn't matter, right? It just doesn't matter. It's not a effective penalty, right? Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. To the new state. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Again. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, they take that seriously. So, you know, because that's your identification. It'd be like if you had a 假的, you know, 身份证, you know, it's the same idea, right? It's your ID for your car. So I think this is a big deal. I think they really need to, I would say, not only do you go to jail and that you lose your car, you lose your vehicle. That's it, you know. If you're used to driving around with a fake license plate, because that's that's very 很故意的, right? If you change your license plates, that's something you've gone out and you've done intentionally. And why do you do that? Because you don't want the police to catch you. It's very, very open. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe 30 days, but So if you move to a new state in America, let's see, like he said, you go from Michigan Joe to 加州, you have a certain period of time that you have before you need to change your license plate. Well, and I think your driver's license. You can't just keep, technically, I'm sure if they didn't realize where you lived, but yeah, you need to do that stuff. It's pretty serious. So I do think, again, I think a lot of it is penalties. They need to be increased, because if it's only 几千块, who cares? It doesn't matter. I can do anything I want. It's just pocket money. So anyhow, sorry, I'm talking about that. But here we say, going back to this, we have the word tolerate, okay, or intolerable, okay. Let's say that word one more time. Intolerable. Intolerable. Okay, so here it says the United States should not tolerate South Africa's collaboration or cooperation with Communist China. So she urged the 美国国务院 Anthony Blinken and the administration, that means the government of U.S. President Joe Biden, to make it clear there will be consequences. Now, actually, this is a good word to talk about. Consequence means what? It's the result of something, right? And this is what I was talking about here. The penalty is related to consequence, right? Because if you drive a car with an illegal license plate, or you drive a car as you're an underage driver, there should be serious consequences. The result of your action should be serious. That means usually the penalty is very serious. So, consequences is one of those words we use a lot. There are consequences to everything we do, right? You do something, there's going to be a result from what you do. It might be good, it might be bad, but there will be consequences, okay? So sometimes your parents or your teachers might warn you and say, if you do that, there will be consequences. If you disobey me, there will be consequences, okay? That's a very common way of saying, means what's going to happen if you do something, okay? So why don't we say it together? Consequences. Consequences. Right. So we might ask somebody, what are the consequences of driving with a legal license plate? Or what are the consequences of being an underage driver in Taiwan? And the word is very connected to that word penalty. What's the penalty for that? Okay. So if Pretoria works with the CCP to bully Taiwan. Okay. Okay, so let's read this together. U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn on Monday wrote on X that the United States should not tolerate South Africa's collaboration with Communist China, urging U.S. Secretary of State. Let's say it one more time. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden to make it clear there will be consequences. Let's say this again. There will be consequences. If Pretoria works with the CCP to bully Taiwan. Okay. Okay, it says South Africa's aggression against Taiwan on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party is deeply disturbing and inappropriate, U.S. Senator Tom Cotton wrote on X. Okay, these are all pretty big U.S. Congress members. I mean, they're high level. So these people are supporting Taiwan. So it says here, South Africa's aggression. What's aggression mean? Yeah, if you act in an aggressive way, it means like you want to confront somebody, you want to fight them. Okay, let's say you're walking down the road and you see a dog and he starts barking at you, and maybe he's coming after you. We say the dog is being very aggressive, like he wants to attack you. Okay, but if you see an aggressive person, maybe they're acting in a very, I just used the word confrontational, right? Confrontational means, we've talked about this before. This becomes a 形容词. To confront somebody is to almost like to 面对, to get in them there, to confront them. Like if you challenge somebody, that's a way of saying it. And then a confrontation becomes the 名词 of that. Okay, we had a confrontation. I had a confrontation with him because of this problem. And then confrontational becomes a 形容词. It means you have that attitude, like you want to challenge somebody or so if someone acts in a very confrontational way, people might think that they're being very aggressive. Okay, they're showing aggression. Now, I would say, I have to say that not every time you confront somebody, it doesn't always mean you're aggressive, right? Aggressive is almost like you want to fight them. You can confront somebody in a friendly way, right? You could be smiling and say, I don't think you should do this, or we have a problem we need to discuss. But you could be confrontational in a very aggressive way. Okay, like I'm going to fight you. Okay, does everybody understand that? Okay, so why don't we first say this as a 形容词 with an IVE, aggressive. Aggressive. Okay, like obviously outside there's some aggressive drivers, right? They drive very fast and they're going around people. Okay, but here's a 名词, let's say aggression. Aggression. Okay, so they're saying South Africa's aggression against Taiwan on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party. So if you do something on behalf of someone, what does that mean? This is a very common expression. What does it mean? Yeah, you represent them, right? You're doing their work. You're doing something for them. So for example, you could say, he is acting on behalf of me, right? What's the word we use in Taiwan? I think was it 委托, right? Or 委托代表, right? To, sometimes you have that 委托书, right? You say, oh, he is my representative. He is acting on behalf of me. Okay, he's doing this on my side for me. He's my representative, my 代表. Okay, so why don't we say it together? On behalf of. On behalf of. This actually gets used a lot too. Like, let's say you are representing somebody, a group of people, to say something. For example, let's say I'm on the Taichung 美国商会. I might say, maybe if I'm writing an email to somebody to ask something for 美国商会, I might say, on behalf of Taichung 美国商会, I am writing you to ask if you would help us with this. It means that I am representing them to contact you, to communicate with you. Or you could say, on behalf of me and my family, we want to wish you a happy birthday, right? Means that I'm representing my family to say happy birthday to you. We are all saying happy birthday to you. Okay, so this is a good expression. So it says here, South Africa's aggression against Taiwan on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party is deeply disturbing. This bothers us very much. And it's inappropriate. It's not appropriate. It's not the correct behavior. So, if we say someone is acting in an inappropriate way, or they're using inappropriate language, or they're speaking in an inappropriate way, it means it's not acceptable. So the other word, the close word to that word, I would say, is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I cannot accept it. 不能接受, right? So why don't we say together, inappropriate. Inappropriate. And let's say the other word, unacceptable. Unacceptable. Okay. Let's read this. South Africa's aggression against Taiwan on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party is deeply disturbing and inappropriate. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton wrote on X. Okay. U.S. Representative Michelle Steele said South Africa should reverse its action, there's that expression, respect the wonderful people of Taiwan, and stand up to the CCP's intimidation campaign. Okay, so if you stand up to somebody, what do? It means you what? Yeah, you stand up. It means you don't back down. You don't give in. You stand up to them. Let's say that someone's trying to bully you and you stand up to them. It means you won't step away. You won't back down. So they should stand up to the CCP's intimidation. Now, if you, as a 动词, D-A-T-E, to intimidate means what? Good word. If you intimidate someone, yeah, it means you use your power or your force to make them fear you or to back down. Okay? So we could use the word intimidating as a 形容词, or we can use it to intimidate is a 动词, or here is a 名词, intimidation. Okay? So let me just ask you, in life, in life, what things intimidate you? We all have things that intimidate us. What might be some of those things? The police. Some people think the police are intimidating. Okay, what else? Your teacher might be intimidating. You're scared of your teacher. Some people might say their job is intimidating, right? Or their boss, or it's just some challenge, right? Maybe I find the idea. Some people are intimidated by I don't know, exercise, 运动. They don't want to go out and exercise. They think it's very scary. Or going outside to going hiking in the mountains might be intimidating for them. They don't want to do it. They're scared of it. Okay. So intimidating is something, if you say, I find this to be very intimidating, T-I-N-G, that means I'm frightened by it. I'm a little bit scared of it. I don't want to do it. And so that can be many different things in life, right? If you're fearful or scared of something or nervous about something, it's intimidating. Okay, now here, of course, intimidation means they're trying to force South Africa. They're using their power to scare South Africa into doing something to help the CCP. Okay, does everybody understand that? Okay, so this is a good word. Let's say it first of all as a 动词 with a te, to intimidate. To intimidate. Okay, and then this word, intimidation. Intimidation. And then as a 形容词 with a T-I-N-G, intimidating. Intimidating. Right. So you could say, I'm very intimidated by my new job, or I'm very intimidated by this challenge that I have, okay? Or it is very intimidating for me. So it's a good word. Okay, so let's read this then. U.S. Representative Michelle Steele said South Africa should reverse its action. Respect the wonderful people of Taiwan and stand up to the CCP's intimidation campaign. Okay, so campaign, of course, means like an action. Yeah. Campaign, like action. Yeah, they're 动作. Yeah. When what happens? Right. You mean you represent a political? Oh, there's a funny word we use in American elections. If you stand up and you say something for a candidate, we say to stump. Oops, sorry. You letter. To stump for. It's a funny word, stump. But if you this word gets used a lot, to stump for this candidate. It means you get up and you say something to support them. I guess you could. What are some other ways we could say that? Just to speak out in support of, to campaign for somebody. I mean, you could use this word campaign, to campaign for that person. To stump for them means to support, to speak out for a political candidate. Ho Shenren, right? Just anybody, what is that? Someone who represents somebody. Not necessarily, because spokesperson sounds official. Like if I'm official, if every government, political party, candidate, they all have an official spokesperson. So if you're the spokesperson, like they asked you to represent them officially, then you could use the word. But spokesperson sounds like a title. It's an official title. Okay. Let's look at one or two more paragraphs here. It says, U.S. Representative Carlos Gimenez, I think I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Gimenez said on X that the U.S. Congress rejects South Africa's pathetic attempt to bully our dear friend Taiwan, and urged a full review of U.S.-South African relations for Pretoria's succumbing to Beijing's demands. Okay, so now you know why I use this article. There's a lot of interesting words. So this U.S. representative said that the U.S. rejects, of course, reject, to not accept, South Africa's pathetic attempts. Okay, what's the word pathetic mean? What? Yeah, it means like very shameful, shameless, right? If someone is very pathetic, you're like, yeah. How do you say it in Chinese? Okay, yeah. It means you're just like, it's just shameful. It's like, yeah. It's what are you doing? Sometimes people act in a pathetic way, right? Like I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking about, let's say if I see a man and his girlfriend, tries to break up with him, and he's like, "Oh, please don't leave me. I'll do anything you want. Don't leave me." We say he's acting in a very pathetic way. Like, just stop it. It's very embarrassing. 丢脸, right? So yeah, we say pathetic. Okay. So if someone's doing something and you think, you can say your action, what you're doing is pathetic, or you can say you are pathetic. Okay, or this is pathetic. Pitiful. Yeah, I guess that would be another word of saying it's pitiful. Despicable me means really bad. It's terrible. I mean, obviously there's many words. Pitiful comes from the word pity, right? Now, of course, if someone's pathetic, we don't really feel pity for them, but we could say this is pitiful. It has the same idea. It means it's ridiculous. I can't accept it. You shouldn't act like that. Okay, so why don't we say together, pathetic. Pathetic. Right. So this is never a positive word, I think. You can say, oh, that's just pathetic. Okay, so it says South Africa's pathetic attempt to bully our dear friend Taiwan. And this representative urged a full review of U.S.-South African relations. So they're saying the U.S. now should, if South Africa does this, there should be consequences. There will be consequences to the U.S.-South Africa relationship. A full review for Pretoria's, and this is a good word, succumbing to Beijing's demands. What is to succumb to? What's a simple way of saying that? To kowtow, but it means simply to give in to something. So if you succumb to something, it means you surrender. You know the word surrender, right? So I guess we could say surrender. We could say to give in to what? Renounce means more like to give up, but this is to give in, to surrender, okay? So you can succumb to many things, right? People succumb every day to sickness. If someone succumbs to their illness, what does that actually mean? It usually means more serious than that. It usually means they die. So if you say he succumbed to his illness, it means he died from his illness, his sickness. It means he couldn't, it overcame him. He surrendered to his sickness. So someone could succumb to their illness, but you could say he succumbed to their demands. It means he gave in to their demands. He surrendered to the demands. So it just means that idea of to give up, to surrender, to give in. Okay? Everybody understand that? Okay. So why don't we say together, succumb, succumb, succumbing, succumbing. Okay, it's a good word. Okay, so let's read this. U.S. Representative Carlos Gimenez. Yeah, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyhow, said on X that the U.S. Congress rejects South Africa's pathetic attempt to bully our dear friend Taiwan, and urged a full review of U.S.-South African relations for Pretoria's succumbing to Beijing's demands. Right. Okay. One more paragraph, and then we will go to a different article. It says here, Minister of Foreign Affairs Lin Jialong on Monday said there are no plans to relocate the office and that Pretoria's demands were unreasonable. Right? So if something is unreasonable, means it's not only not unacceptable, but it means it's not reasonable, right? If someone makes a demand of you and it's reasonable, well, then you say, okay, I can accept that. But this is like unacceptable. It's unreasonable. It doesn't make sense, right? Why are you doing this? It's not reasonable, right? So sometimes people will make a request or demand of you and it's reasonable, but other times it's not reasonable. It doesn't, and so therefore you cannot accept it. So why don't we say together, unreasonable. Unreasonable. Okay. And there's the word relocate again, to move, basically. Okay, so let's read this. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Lin Jialong, on Monday said there are no plans to relocate the office and that Pretoria's demands were unreasonable. Unreasonable. Right. So I guess Taiwan and South Africa actually have a contract, a legal agreement that says that they will have their office in Taiwan, in Pretoria, and that. So Taiwan actually has a legal way to challenge this demand. But I told my friends, I think Taiwan, if Taiwan really has to move its office, I had a suggestion. I told my friends, I think then Taiwan should move South Africa's office from Taipei to Yunlin. And so then every time people need to do business with South Africa, they have to go to Yunlin, right? or maybe they can move it to Nantou, or I don't know. Yunlin would be good, I think. So yeah. I don't know, actually. I'm not, my geography with South Africa is not very good, so I'm not sure how far it is. Some of my friends said actually Johannesburg would be okay because it's a big city. So it's okay. But I think this is all very symbolic, right? It's symbolic. Now, when we say symbolic, what does that mean? Right. It has a deeper meaning, right? Because what is a symbol? A symbol is something that 代表, it represents your idea. Like, what is a symbol of Taiwan? Well, our flag, right? 国旗, right? So, so if something is symbolic, it means that Taiwan having its representative office in the capital, where all the other, 大使馆 are, is symbolic that Taiwan, has a, of course they don't have official relationship, but they are still accepted there, But if you say, no, you have to leave, and everyone, then it has also is symbolic for where Taiwan's position is. So yeah. Okay, any questions about this? Yeah. 55 kilometers. Okay. Not too far. So maybe we can move the South African embassy to Miaoli, maybe. Yeah. Maybe that would be better. So yeah, anyhow, it's kind of an interesting thing. Okay, well, I thought we would at least talk about one article that's relating to the U.S. presidential election, because that's coming up in I think 2 weeks, right? It's soon. It seems like my friends often call me these days and they ask my opinion on the U.S. presidential election, And of course, everyone asks the same thing. They say, well, who do you think is going to win? and I always say, actually, and my honest answer is I don't know, because the election is very close. If you read the articles in America, some articles say, oh, Trump is coming ahead now. And other articles say, oh, Kamala's getting ahead, and other articles say, oh, they're tied, right? 平手, they're the same. They're so, who knows? Obviously, it seems to be very close. But, we'll have to wait until election day to see what really happens. Sometimes a race seems very close until the election happens, and then maybe one candidate actually gets a lot more votes. Who knows? So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But here, of course, whenever you have an election, people are very sensitive to outside countries or people interfering. We talked about the word interference, right? So obviously, if you're a 民主, a democracy, you don't want outside countries or people interfering with your election. So here it says Starmer downplays row, or row, I think is the word, row with Trump. Okay. Now, this is a very interesting word. Long time ago, I think we talked about, but if you have a row with somebody, what does that mean? Yeah, that means a argument, a fight. Now, of course, you look at the word, you think, oh, that's row, like row your boat, right? To row your boat. But here, when we use the word argument, often they pronounce it differently. They say to have a row with somebody. It means a disagreement, an argument with somebody. It's not usually like a serious fight, but it's a disagreement. It's an argument. Okay, so it says here, Starmer downplays row with Trump. Now, what if you downplay something? What does that mean? Well, it's a 动词. So what it means is that you try to make it seem less important than it is, or just me. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you change your job, or let's say you lose your job. Let's say your boss fires you, and your friends are all like, "Oh, this is terrible. What happened? I mean, what did you do?" And you say, "Oh, no, it's no big deal. I didn't really like the job, and we agreed that I'm going to leave and go somewhere else." What are you doing? I'm downplaying it. I'm making it seem less serious than it really is. So sometimes we try to downplay certain things. We say it's no big deal. It's not important. Don't worry about it. Okay. Well, low key is more of a existing. Low key means more like what do you say? 低调, right? Yeah, but downplay is like an active verb. It's like a 动词. To downplay something means to make it seem, or try to make it seem less serious. Okay. So here, why don't we say together, downplays. Downplays. Okay. So, you could say, when I asked him about that situation, he tried to downplay it. He tried to say, 没有关系, 没有问题. Okay. So Starmer downplays row with Trump. Okay. Now, Starmer is the Prime Minister of the UK. So it says here, interference. The former U.S. president's campaign team said it believes foreign nationals are exercising direction and control over elements of the Harris campaign. What that means, foreign national basically means 外国人, right? Foreigners, foreign nationals. If you're a national, it means you are a citizen. You could say citizen. This would be another word for citizen. Foreign citizens are exercising, means they're working or they have direction and control over elements. Now, element would simply be another part, 一部分, right? An element of the Harris campaign. Of course, she's the Democratic candidate. So it means that they are having some influence or power over certain parts of her campaign, which would not be good. Okay? So let's go on and see what they're saying here. Let's read the article. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said Donald Trump's legal complaint against his Labour Party over alleged election interference would not jeopardize their relationship if the former U.S. president wins the election next month. Okay, so obviously he's a bit nervous, right? Because if he's already saying that you're supporting the other side, right, and then he wins the election, this could really impact their relationship afterwards. Okay, so he says Donald Trump's legal complaint. Now, legal complaint is when you it's not like to it's kind of like to sue, but maybe not quite as serious. It's like to gao somebody, right? So complain means like to 批评, but here it's a legal document. So if you have a legal problem with somebody and you write a legal complaint, you can say, oh, he didn't do this, or he's not following the contract, or they're doing something illegal. That's like a legal complaint against somebody. Does everybody understand that? Okay. So Donald Trump's legal complaint against his Labour Party. Now, Labour Party is the party of the that's in power right now. There's a Labour Party, and then there's the Tory Conservative Party, the Tory Party. So Labour Party over alleged. Now, of course, alleged means that it's claimed, right? It's not for sure, but I say that he did that. Interference would not jeopardize their relationship. Now, this is a very good word. To jeopardize something means what? To put it in danger. If you jeopardize something, you say that has been put into danger. Now it's in danger. It could be harmed. Okay. So jeopardize comes from what word? What's the basic word? Jeopardy. Okay. Jeopardy. Jeopardy. And jeopardy is a simple word or a longer word for what? Danger. Yeah. So you can say, if you say we are in jeopardy right now, it means we are in danger. Okay. So, there's many, you can put your life in jeopardy, right? By doing what? By acting in a dangerous way, right? If I go out there and I start to 传红灯, right? I start to go through red lights and I go too fast. I see this every day, people driving way too fast. I say they are putting their lives at jeopardy or in jeopardy. Okay, they're putting their lives in danger. And then or you could say they are jeopardizing their own lives, well, and other people's lives too. Okay, so why don't we say this word together? Jeopardy. Jeopardy. And then as a 动词, jeopardize. Jeopardize. Right. So again, the word jeopardy, we often say to put something in jeopardy, just like we say to put something in danger, okay? To put his life in jeopardy. To put this plan in jeopardy, or this company in jeopardy means it's now in dangerous, it's in danger. Okay. Yes. No, there's a TV show, a TV game called Jeopardy. It's a very, very, I love this show. So in America, we have on TV, this goes way, way back, probably 30, 40 years. There's a game show, a TV game show called, and it's on every day, and it's called Jeopardy, that word Jeopardy. And it's a very fun game because what they do is, I don't know if you've seen this game, they have, 3 or 4 people competing. They're there. And then the host has this big screen, and they have these different 题目, right? And then everyone is worth a different amount of money, like $100, $200, $500. And you can pick which subject you want, and then they will turn it over, and they will ask you, it's a topic. They'll say, this is the topic, and you have to respond with a question. You have to say, what is this? And your answer is this. Anyhow, it's a little bit 复杂, but it's very fun, and it's good for people who like to memorize facts about, maybe anything under the sun. Could be about, they could have a category that says Taiwan, right? They could have a category that says geography. They could have a category that says American famous singers, right? It could be anything. And some people are really smart, and they win and win and win, and can make lots of money, right? So anyhow, it's a fun game. Okay, so let's go back to this. So he's saying that even though Donald Trump has filed a legal complaint against him, this will not jeopardize their relationship if Trump wins the election. Okay, so let's read this together. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said Donald Trump's legal complaint against his Labor Party over alleged election interference would not jeopardize their relationship if the former U.S. president wins the election next month. Okay. So it says here, Trump accused the UK's ruling Labour Party of blatant foreign interference and illegal foreign campaign contributions to the campaign of U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party's candidate, in a filing with the U.S. Federal Election Commission earlier this week. Okay, so the U.S. Federal means, of course, 中央, like 中央政府. Election Commission, Taiwan has an election commission too. Like whenever they have a 选举, they are in charge of the election, right? They run the election. So he filed, means he sent in a legal complaint against them with the election commission. So what are they complaining about? Okay, so he says here they accused the Labour Party of the UK of blatant foreign interference. Now, of course, foreign interference is illegal, okay? But this word is good, and this is a very similar word to a word that I just taught you earlier. What word is that? Brazen, yes. So blatant and brazen, B-R-A-Z-E-N, and this word blatant are very similar. Blatant also means very open, very bold, like you don't care. But I think this word tends to usually be more negative, 否定的. So if you can say he blatantly broke the law, it means he broke the law and he didn't even care. He doesn't seem to care, right? Sometimes somebody will do something and they don't really care about the consequences of their actions. So we say they did it blatantly as a 副词, okay? So I think if you know the word brazen, it's quite similar to this word. So why don't we say together blatant? Blatant. Okay, so blatant foreign interference, it means it was very open. They didn't seem to care if they did it. Okay, and what else? Illegal foreign campaign contributions. What does that mean? That they gave money, they contributed, donated. Contribution, of course, is similar to donation, donated. T-I-O-N-S, donation, to donate, 捐钱, contribution, to give something, to donate to the campaign of U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay, everybody understand that? Any questions about that? Okay, let's read this. Trump accused the UK's ruling Labour Party. Let's say it last part. Ruling Labour Party of blatant foreign interference. One more time. Blatant foreign interference and illegal foreign campaign contributions to the campaign of U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party's candidate in a filing with the U.S. Federal Election Commission. Earlier this week. Okay. Starmer denied that the legal complaint would impact his relationship with Trump, who he met for the first time over a 2-hour dinner in New York last month. Okay, so so he's denied. He's saying no, it's this complaint is not going to impact his relationship with Trump. Okay, so let's read this together. Starmer denied that the legal complaint would impact his relationship with Trump, who he met for the first time over a 2-hour dinner in New York last month. Okay, that's a photo caption. Okay, so it says here, we had a good, constructive discussion, and of course, as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, I will work with whoever the American people return as their president in their elections, which are very close now, Starmer said. Okay, so constructive, I think, what would be another similar word? If you say we have a constructive relationship, what would be a similar word to that? Positive, but I think there's even a better word. Starts with a P. Productive, yeah. If it's productive, you know, that it has good results, you know, the 效果, it's doing good things. So you can say we have a very constructive relationship, or we have a very productive relationship. It means it's creating good things. Okay, so let's say together, constructive. Constructive. And the other word, productive. Productive. Okay, so here they're saying a constructive discussion. It means the discussion had some good results, okay? And of course, I will work with whoever the American people return. Now, this is a word we sometimes see with elections, return as their candidate. It doesn't mean that the candidate is coming back, but it means who did they choose? You know, it's just a way they use for elections, to return as their president. Yeah, it's an unusual way to use this word, but I see this word used like this, to return as their president. In their elections, which are very close now. Okay, so let's read this. We had a good, constructive discussion. And of course, as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, again, United Kingdom, I will work with whoever the American people return as their president in their elections, which are very close now, Starmer said. Okay. Let's read one more paragraph and then we'll be done. It says, the filing by Trump's campaign is unlikely to gain traction. Campaigns routinely meet with representatives of foreign governments, and foreign nationals are permitted to serve as campaign volunteers as long as they are not compensated for their work according to U.S. campaign rules. So this filing, it says, is unlikely to gain traction. Now, traction is a very interesting word. Does everybody know what that means? Excuse me. I'll give you the best example of traction. You know your 轮胎 on a car, right? It has a tread, right? A tread is like a pattern on the tire. Why does the tire have a pattern on the tire? It's for traction. Because what traction means, it means it allows you to move forward. I don't know what's the Chinese word for this, but yeah, your tire needs to have traction. Otherwise, what will happen? It'll just spin and it won't move forward. So if you're driving in the snow or the ice, your tire will lose traction because it's just there's no grip, there's no traction. So if you want to drive a Jeep or a truck in the mountains, the tire has a big tread on it, so the tire has more traction to drive in the rocks or the snow or the. Does everybody understand that word, traction? No, it means to get it going. So here it says it's unlikely. It probably will not get traction. It means his legal complaint will not go anywhere. It'll just spin. It won't move forward. Okay? So does everybody understand that? So traction is a very good word. You can say, my idea is not getting any traction, or his idea does not have much traction. It means it's not going anywhere. It's not doing anything. But the word traction is that energy, that force, when a tire, like a 轮胎, when it's moving, it gets grip. It actually it's like it almost grabs the ground and it can move forward. But if there's no traction, it'll just spin. That's why when you 检查 your car or your motorcycle, you have to make sure there's some tread on your tire. Otherwise, there's no traction. If it starts, raining, 下雨, you'll slip, you'll slide because there's no traction. Okay? So why don't we say the word together? Traction. Traction. Okay. So it says here, campaigns routinely meet with representatives of foreign governments. Routinely means what? What's another word for routinely? Or it means regularly. Regularly. Okay? It means it's normal. It's 很平常, right? So I'll just write this real quick. Regularly, routinely. Because what is a routine, right? A routine is something you do every day, right? What's your everyday routine? You get up, you have breakfast, you get dressed, you go to work. So if you say routinely, it means regularly. Okay? So why don't we say together routinely, routinely, regularly, regularly. Okay. So yeah, you know what a routine is, right? You understand that word, right? Routine is like your schedule for your day or for your work or something you do every day, the same, okay? So routinely meet with representatives of foreign governments and foreign citizens, foreign nationals are permitted, they are allowed to work or serve as campaign volunteers, 志工, 义工, okay? As long as they are not compensated for their work. And what is another simple word for compensated? Paid. They're not paid for their work, okay? So if somebody says, what is your compensation for your job? It means how much salary do you make? What's your income? Your 薪水 is compensation, T-I-O-N. So you are compensated means you're given something for your work or paid for your work. So if you want to work as a volunteer, okay, but you cannot be paid. Okay? Let's read this real quick and then we'll be done. The filing by Trump's campaign is unlikely to gain traction. Traction. Campaigns routinely meet with representatives of foreign governments and foreign nationals are permitted to serve as campaign volunteers as long as they are not compensated for their work according to U.S. campaign rules. Okay, so just again, remember the word permitted is the same as the word allowed, right? Allowed. Are you allowed to do something? Are you permitted to do something? And then of course, volunteer, I think you know this, 义工 or 志工 or whatever, volunteer. Okay, yes. It's when you read the news from America, you get all kinds of opinions. But my slight feeling right now is that maybe Trump is starting to get an edge over Harris. And I think the reason is because when Harris replaced Biden, there was a lot of excitement, right? People were really high about that. They were like, oh, this is great. But I think after it went up like that, then the excitement is starting to wear off, right? I mean, that's normal. So after that first excitement, now it's kind of wearing off. And so now, she's kind of come down a bit. And so now I think people are they're thinking more clearly about both candidates and saying, well, okay, who's Kamala Harris? What has she done? What's her policy? And so now they're thinking more evenly about who. So I think that kind of helps Donald Trump because it's not just this high, oh, look at, Kamala Harris, she's, the new candidate. Now it's like, okay, well, who are these people? So I don't know. It's hard to say, but I just feel like maybe Trump has slightly gained some edge recently because Kamala has come down a bit. So I don't know. Who knows? 谁知道, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Well, we'll see. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.